Peace to the gods and goddesses of planet Kai. Peace meaning positive energy always creates elevation. Let me first start by sending the deepest of insights to the elders, those 65 and older in university, my peers, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and definitely those 21 and under. All right, we back. This is part 2. Well, this will be part 1 because I deleted the first part. I ain't want to keep it. So we going to roll right into the lesson, y'all. Y'all roll back up in here. So we was talking about Mark Henry, and we were beginning to look at his metrics and who he was, all right? So Mark Henry, birth name, Mark Gerald Henry, born June 12, 1971. He's 50 years old right now. He entered this realm in the state of Silsbee, Texas. Okay. This is stats. He's 6'4" and 360 pounds. I want you to pay attention that he made his debut in professional wrestling, which is what he's known for. He's famous for not for who he really is. He's famous for being a professional wrestler, and that's not who this God is. Okay? He came here to be something totally different, to do something totally different, and they hid this guy and made him become a professional wrestler. All right? Debut March 11, 1996. All right? So, let's read about Mark Henry. Mark Gerald Henry, born June 12, 1971, is an American power lifter, Olympic weightlifter, strongman, and retired professional wrestler, currently signed to All Elite Wrestling. Okay? He is best known for his 25-year career, like I was just telling you, in WWE, which we know wrestling is fake. It is not real. All right? Where he was a 2-time world champion. He is a 2-time Olympian. That's what you pay attention to. Pay attention to the weightlifter him, the power lifter him. That's the real him. All right? They hid him in WWE and made him result to being a professional wrestler because they didn't want people to know about DEA. All right? They want to keep this hidden about the genetics of us and what we are and the dark matter energy that we possess. And we're going to find out more as we learn more about Mark Henry. All right? So, he is a 2-time Olympian, winning in 92 and 96, and gold, silver, and bronze medalist at the Pan American Games in 1995. As a power lifter, he was WDFPF world champion in 95 and a 2-time U.S. national champion in 95 and 97. Pay attention to all this stuff because he was dominating weightlifting and powerlifting. All right? Natural brute strength, never used steroids, never used to even use knee straps. All right? We going to see the things this guy was doing and that they wanted to hide from the world because they found out something when they started testing him about the DEA. They found out more about the DEA through Mark Henry. Running tests on Mark Henry. All right? So when they discovered that this was something that not only Mark Henry possessed, this DEA, which they thought they had locked down, this is when they was finding out about how the sun still affects us. Regardless of them blocking it, it doesn't stop us from receiving the downloads and the nutrients from the sun. Okay, so they found out a lot of this dealing with Mark Henry, running tests on him and things of that nature because they couldn't figure out how this God was this strong naturally. All right, and I'm going to go into some of the things he was doing. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to watch some video. But what he was doing was flat out amazing. All right, and that's what people would consider it, but it's not really amazing. He was just tapping into the DEA just a little bit. Just a little bit. He tapped into 10% of the DEA. All right? He just tapped into 10% of it, and they was scared of that. All right, let's keep reading, though. All right, so currently, he still holds the WDFPF world records. We talking 25 years later. He still hold these records, y'all. Well, 05, 15... 20, shit, what you talking? 25, man. 26 years later, he still holds the world records in the squat, deadlift, and total raw pounds ever lift. He is credited for the biggest raw squat and raw powerlift in total ever performed by a drug-tested athlete. Pay attention. Mark Henry. He is credited for the biggest Raw squat and Raw powerlifting total ever performed by a drug-tested athlete, regardless of weight class, as well as the greatest Raw deadlift by an American citizen, period. Mark Henry. Majority of your athletes that lift weights, even today, they all use drugs. These Olympians, they be using drugs. Okay? We talking about since 1996 in the Atlanta Olympics, which was when they forced him. Look, he debuted it in 1996 at the Atlanta Olympics. And the Olympic Games was in Atlanta. Even though they wasn't held in March, this was his debut of that same year. Okay? He was so dominant with raw strength, they made that man retire the same year after the Atlanta Olympics. Hey, man, you do me a favor? I need you to put the iPad on the charger for it dies at 6%. I think the charger's in the thing. I don't want to move the camera. Thank you. All right, so I want y'all to focus in on that now. So this is where the world's strongest man come from. This title that he got. Because nobody, thank you, babe. Nobody to this day, we got peanut butter crackers left? You hand me one, please. Nobody to this day has done it. We talking almost 30 years later. He still holds the records in squat, and deadlift, and total pounds ever lifted. And he is still credited for the biggest Raw squat and Raw powerlifting total ever performed by a drug-tested athlete. Not to mention today, they don't even test the athletes like that lift this weight like they used to, because they don't. They want to stay entertaining. And most of today's athletes are straight weaklings who are using steroids. Period. Facts. So they don't even test them no more like that in Olympic weightlifting like they used to. Now, he did all of this by the age of 25. By 19, he was viewed as the world's strongest man. By 25, in 1996, they made him retire. Because God had tapped into his DEA, right? And they came to him. They started running tests on Mark Henry. And they were trying to figure out how was he this strong naturally, right? They had never seen nothing like this before in their life. You know, most Olympic weightlifters, even Arnold Schwarzenegger and them niggas. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger them was juicing up in the 70s. So, despite all the fluoride they put in the water and all the things they do to keep our DEA down so that we don't have this, because we all naturally possess superhuman speed, superhuman strength. Like, we are so much stronger and faster and so much more intelligent than you could ever even know. But it's all in your DEA. Okay? This is what the fight is against. The fight has always been against your DEA to keep it locked. Do you know that if your DEA was 100% unlocked, you basically would be doing everything you see the superheroes on TV doing and more. Times 1,000, though. All right? So, they came to him at the tender age of 19, and they was trying to get him to start juicing up, using steroids, and they wanted him to dilute his raw strength, and he didn't want to do it. Also, why did they force him to retire so quick? Because he was so rawly outspoken against people cheating. He also spoke out against Michael Jordan, who was the NBA darling. We gonna show all this. All right, you talking about somebody that if they was to highlight what this man really did, man, he broke science. Like right now, scientists are still baffled. They cannot understand how because he represents us still, he has DEA in him, neuromelanin, how we are able to do these things that we do. Oh, yeah, they made Mark Henry pay for it. They made him retire by the tender age of 20. 19, 20, 21, he was retired. By 26, it was over with. They forced him. Now, check it out. Before he retired, though, in weightlifting, he was a 3-time U.S. national weightlifting champion. Dominating it, y'all. An American Open winner. A 2-time U.S. Olympic Festival champion. And look when he did. Look at the years he was doing all this, y'all. 92, 93, 94, 96. After 96, it was over with. They forced him into wrestling. Listen. He holds all 3 senior U.S. American weightlifting records from 93 through 97, y'all. Come on, man. To this day, y'all, it's 2003 and 2021. It's almost 30 years later. All right. And in 2002, he won the first annual Arnold Strongman Classic. All right. They forced him to join WWE. Check it out. Since joining the World Wrestling Federation, now WWE, in 96. So listen, the same year that he went into the Olympics, in 1996, and crushed all them records, they made his ass join wrestling that same year, y'all. This is what I want y'all to see. All right. They threatened this man's family. They threatened him. They did him dirty to force him up out of them Olympics, to force him out of weightlifting professionally. They ran tests on him against his will. All right. What they did for him was they told him, we'll make it up to you. We'll make you famous. You can go to WWE. We'll make you a Hall of Famer. We'll make you famous. In 2018, they inducted him into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2018. But what the fuck is the WWE Hall of Fame? When this man came here with unseen God-like strength that needed to be talked about. He deserves a college course, right? But they're not going to never do that because you're going to start diving into how did he get that strong? And now you got to talk about deoxyetheric acid. Now we're talking about the DEA. What separates us, okay, from them. Let's keep building, though. All right. Now, remember I told you how we passed a lot of stuff down through genetics? They want to always kill off. They want to always kill off the genetics. All right. This is why they used to cut off the penises of strong slaves and intelligent slaves. They would cut the penis off. All right, because they would want to kill off the genetics. All right, but let's look at Mark Henry family a little bit so you can see that this guy like DEA that he was able to tap into, it didn't just start with him. It runs in his family. They've been tapping into it. Check it out. Mark Henry was born in a small town of Silsbee in East Texas, 90 miles northeast of Houston. As a child, he was a big wrestling fan, and Andre the Giant was his favorite wrestler. While attending a wrestling show in Beaumont, Texas, young Mark Henry tried to touch Andre as he was walking down the aisle. That's all bullshit. Let's jump right here, because this is the little mock-up story for you to believe that he always wanted to be a wrestler. Bullshit. He was into lifting weights. Check him out. Mark Henry comes from a family in which almost all of the men are larger than average, especially his great uncle, Chud, who was 6'7" and weighed approximately 500 pounds and never had a pair of manufactured shoes and was known as the strongest man in Piney Woods of East Texas. All right, this was Mark Henry's uncle. All right. Now let's go into powerlifting. This is him right here pushing the tank. This is exactly how strong he was and still is. Where he tapped into this DEA, where he is strong enough to push whole tanks. Now, the funny thing is, they showed this a lot on WWE, and we all thought it was fake, not knowing that he really possessed this type of strength because we didn't know about his Olympic background. We didn't know about how he tapped into that DEA because they hid that. They hid all this shit. All these records that he got, Strongman Classic, World Powerlifting, USAPL National Powerlifting Champion, 95, 97. Look, he did all this. Look at the years, though, y'all. From between the ages of 19 and 25. This young guy did all this, man. They hide this from you. We didn't know none of this shit when we watched him in wrestling like that. You get what I'm saying? So when he was doing the shit on wrestling, certain things they showed him doing, we thought it was fake and part of the show. And that's how they wanted it to look. Hiding the legend of our DEA. Check it out. Let's read more about him. By the time Mark Henry was in the 4th grade, he was 5'5" and weighed 225 pounds. All right, you talk about a natural Incredible Hulks. Real life Incredible Hulk, Samsons. All right, we got all these amongst us, but they try to hide this type of shit. All right, and people, how when they put him in wrestling, they what he doing? He working for them, right? Working for the master, working for the elite. They rather put them in their circus, they rather have him be in their circus where they can control that strength than have him be, let's say, a revolutionary and was using that strength to fight against them. Y'all with me? Stay focused. By the time Mark Henry was in the 4th grade, he was 5'5" and weighed 225 pounds. All right. Remember, we naturally was in giant form anyway. So some bloodlines still have this they have this in their DA where they tap into it a little more. All right, but let's keep going. His mother bought him a set of weights when he was 10 years old. Now look at this shit, y'all. During Mark Henry's freshman year in high school, he was already able to squat 600 pounds. Nigga, it's grown. Nigga, I ain't never squatted 600 pounds, and I go to the gym. And it's grown. You know how many grown guys been lifting weights all their life, and they'll never squat 600 pounds. He was doing that shit as a freshman in high school. You do not understand that he doesn't have natural strength. This is God DEA, man. This isn't natural. You don't see this shit every day. How many freshmen you know right now? Freshman, grown man. It don't matter. Go get them. That's going to squat. You can go get niggas in the NFL right now, in the NFL. College athletes. You go get Olympians right now that can't squat 600 pounds. He was doing that as a freshman. All right? And as an 18-year-old high school senior, he was already called the world's. He was already called by the age of 18. This young guy was called the world's strongest teenager by the LA Times. Okay? This is when they first started coming at Mark Henry at 18, trying to get him to convert. He wouldn't. All right? By 25, though, they was able to get a hold of him and break him down and get him to come on over in the wrestling. But they didn't even want him to go into the Olympics. They didn't want him lifting weights. They didn't want that to get out. You know, you had all these, Europeans and big white boys that was looked at as the strongest man. Wasn't no gods. They didn't want that out there. You get what I'm saying? Arnold Schwarzenegger and them was like the face of that type of stuff. So to have an 18-year-old black kid from Houston doing this type of shit, like what? Hold on, what? What's going on here? You with me? Let's keep going. Henry was called the world's strongest teenager by the LA Times and made it into the headlines in early 1990 for winning the National High School Powerlifting Championships, setting a teenage lifting world record that still exists. The man squatted 832 pounds in high school as a teenager, y'all. Come on, man. This man squatted in high school 832 pounds, y'all. Come on, man. In high school, y'all. There go the numbers. See, we don't look at these numbers. What? That's 832 pounds, man. Don't let that go over, y'all. Don't just jump around that. He squatted that in high school, man. Raw. No steroids. Look. His bench press in high school, 525 pounds, man. My bench press only like 265 right now. You get what I'm saying? This was his shit in high school. These is his high school numbers. Teenager, 17, 525 pound bench press. Deadlift, 815 pound deadlift. Come on, man. With a total of 2,000 pounds altogether lifted. Man, listen, man. Y'all gonna let the numbers just jump over y'all face like that. Man, let the numbers sink in. You better let the numbers sink in. Don't let the numbers just sit on no page like, oh, that's 832. This is high school. He squatted 832 pounds. Bench press, 525 pounds. Deadlift, 815 pounds, man. With a total of 2,000 pounds together lifted. In high school, we talking about DEA, man. And they kept this guy hitting. This still ain't out there like that. We talking about it. Ain't nobody talking about this. This should be talked about. They should want to know, how the fuck did he get that strong naturally? And that's going to lead everybody to DEA. That's why they not going to never talk about Mark Henry on this level that we talking even right now about these numbers and what he was doing. And how none of this shit has been broken to this day, y'all. Otherworldly strength. But it's called DEA. Let's keep going. At the Texas High School Powerlifting Championships, you see, he was in high school in 1990. So all these records, and by 96, he was retired, y'all. He was in high school in 90, debuted in 96, and by 96, he was retired. That go to show you how the elites did him. That's how scared they was of him. All right, let's keep going, though. In 1990, while in high school still, Ted Todd of the University of Texas spotted Henry and persuaded him to go to Austin after he graduated to train in the Olympics. Now that's when they started coming at him. You see, Terry Todd was the first one to come at him and trying to get him in the Olympics, which he was already wanted to do that, but Terry Todd received a lot of slack and hell for trying to help a black god get there. Because the strength was already there. We know the Olympics don't fucking matter, right? But at the same time, it's their top thing for them. We ain't supposed to be there. You get what I'm saying? It's deeper than that. Pay attention. In July of 1990, at the USPF Senior National Powerlifting Championships, 19-year-old Henry came second only to legendary six-time world powerlifting champion Kurt Kowalski, who used drugs, while powerlifting. He relies primarily on brute strength and power, which Henry obviously possessed. Olympic weightlifting, because they wanted Mark Henry because he was dominating regular weightlifting, right? So that when they wanted him to go to the Olympics, they just knew he was going to fail because it required more tech, a sophisticated. Look at it. It's considered, Olympic weightlifting is considered more sophisticated, involving more agility, time, and flexibility and technique. So they didn't think he was going to go to the Olympics and do shit. But he went there and dominated, man. God went there and dominated. Well, you could jump past all that and jump right here to 96. Olympics, where he dominated at. Dominated in here, right? Dominated. Stood 6'4", 414 pounds in the Olympics. Had a snatch and grab of 507 pounds. That's a clean and jerk. And I'm going to show y'all, we going to pull the footage up, man. Check this out, though. In the same year, because he was dominating in 96, due to injury that he never had, they forces him out of the Olympics. They force him out. And guess what? Right into the WWF. Since his career started as a professional wrestler shortly after the Olympics, he broke his leg in the fall of 96. So, and he never broke his leg. He didn't want to go wrestle at all. He did not want to go in no fucking wrestling. They made him go in wrestling. So he acted like he broke his leg his first year in wrestling. But then they got on his ass and told him, you better wrestle or we're going to kill you and your family. So he went on ahead and wrestled. But yeah, they forced him out. Check game. Since his career started as a professional wrestler shortly after the Olympics, the same year, he jumps out of the Olympics and goes into professional wrestling when he hadn't even reached his peak yet in weightlifting. He hadn't even reached his peak, y'all. That man was finna be bench pressing 1,000 pounds. He was on pace for it. All right? So that's what you need to know now.